Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to cover game 54 of a First Book of Morphy. We are in endgame rule number 4. The easiest endings to win are pure pawn endings. We have Paul Morphy versus Daniel Harwitz with the Philidor defense, and this game took place in Paris in 1858. This was the 6th match game. So let's go ahead and go over to the game here and cover the moves. So let's get to the position. Again, the Philidor defense. Here, the author comments that e5 is a poor move by white, giving up a short-term advantage in development and a long-term advantage in space in order to prevent black from castling. Again, but the queens leave the board and take most of the attacking chances with them. Here, knight c3 is natural and good. So d captures d5, queen captures d8 check, king captures d8, knight captures e5, bishop e6, knight c3, bishop d6, attacking the knight on e5, knight c4, attacking the bishop, and then now bishop takes on c4. Here the author comments that this is a bad move, surrendering the better minor piece while helping white develop with the threat. So here the author saying that bishop is a better minor piece. Not only did you give that up, but you helped white develop its minor piece, its bishop, with the threat. All right. So rook e8 check, bishop e3, king e7. King e7, the author says about king e7 is that this is a pure defensive move that interferes with his own rook. The author is recommending that instead black play a counter-attacking move with knight g4. And then after this variation, the game could have gone something like this. Bishop captures f7, knight captures e3, bishop captures e8, knight captures e2 check, king d2, knight captures a1. Instead we have king e7, white castles queenside, a6, bishop g5, knight d7, knight d4. Again, piling up here on the knight. h6, bishop captures f6, knight captures f6, knight captures d6, c captures d6, rook h to e1, check. White goes into the endgame with a sounder pawn structure, okay. Superior development because of the rooks and the bishop, and the better minor pieces, again, which he is referring to that white has a bishop and black has a knight. So we have king f8, rook captures e8 check, knight captures e8 to protect the d6 pawn here. Bishop d5 attacking b7. Now the rook has to be tied down defending the b7 pawn. Bishop f3, restoring the pressure on d6 and forcing the knight to stay in place. g6, c3. Again, c3 is to make room for the king, to mobilize the king without blocking the rook. c4 could inhibit the bishop, especially in the ending, so do not place pawns on the same color squares as your bishop. Right, so here is saying that white could have also played c4, but it's because if you put your pawns on light squares, they're going to block the mobility of your bishop, right? So in this ending, we have the light square bishop, so it's best to have your bishop take the light squares, and then you put your pawns on dark squares, right? That way the bishop has mobility. c3, king e7, rook e1 check, king f8, king c2, knight c7, king b3, knight e6, king a4, b6. Here the author is recommending that black play the aggressive knight c5 check to go into this line where black will have to trade pawns. And again, the author is saying that this should ease black's defense. So the author is saying that in the endgame, trade pawns, right, to ease a defense. Instead, we have b6 by black. b4 by white, h5, h4, king e7, rook e3, king d7, bishop d5, rook e8, king b3, rook g8. Here the author says, in an ending with rooks, get an active rook at any cost. Since black cannot play rook c8, okay, yeah, so if black plays rook c8, then there is a fork here, right? Bishop to b7, and now the bishop attacks the rook and the pawn. He looks forward to open the the G file with G5 and open a line for his rook, even if that would result in 2 additional isolated pawns. So again, let's say if we play that, then the isolated pawns would be on f7 and h5. But again, the rook would have would be activated. Rook f3, king e7, a4, a5. This weakens the white squares. Bishop captures e6. So again, white's attacking plan was king c4 to king b5. So he trades, he takes on e6 to prevent knight c7. Right? So if king b4, then knight c7 prevents the king from entering on b5. So that's why the bishop takes. Now king c4, g5, king b5, a captures b4, c captures b4, g captures h4, king captures b6, rook b8, king a5, king d5, rook d3, king c4, rook d6, rook captures b4. Again, so here white decides to trade down, right? Sacrifices his rook, and now again, white has a passed pawn here. f4. So again, this is just to kind of see that, to visualize from this position, from this early on, that when you queen, your queen will have this diagonal here. Okay. So this is something very important, because if black's king is in this diagonal when the pawn queens, then that's gonna queen with check, which is important in the endgame because you get an extra move. King e3, a5, king f2, a6, king g2, a7, h3, a8 queen with check, king g1, and now queen f3, and black resign, right? Because after this, the game is pretty much over because it's checkmate. So let's go ahead and go back here. Again, this game, I mean, early trade of queens, right? And then so now we're already kind of looking at the end game, and we're trying to see, okay, this is kind of already going towards an end game. Right here is equal, right? Because the pawn structure is equal, but somewhere, again, here black took, and now this is an isolated pawn, right? So now this pawn on d6 becomes a target. Now, okay, so white's king ended up getting to this position. Now again, yeah, the rook looks misplaced, right? Maybe the rook should have been here on c8 to cut off the king here. Right here, now maybe you can go rook c8 to prevent the black king from entering the position. However, the white king enters, and now white trades and has a passed pawn. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.